Okay, we are reading from Valmiki Ramayana. It's book 1 entitled Bala Kanda. Sarga 2, Canto 2. Brahma's visit to Valmiki, the author of Ramayana, the sage Valmiki. Okay, this was translated from Sanskrit to beautiful 1800s British by Ralph Griffith. Valmiki, graceful speaker heard, to highest admiration stirred. To him whose fame the tale rehearsed, he paid his mental worship first. Then with his pupil humbly bent before the saint most eloquent, thus honored and dismissed the seer, departed to his heavenly sphere. Then from his cot Valmiki hied to Tamasa's sequestered side, not far remote from Ganga's tide. He stood and saw the ripples roll, pellucid o'er a pebbly shoal. To Bharadvaja by his side he turned in ecstasy and cried, "See, pupil dear, this lovely sight, the smooth-floored shallow, pure and bright, with not a speck or shade to mar, and clear as good men's bosoms are. Here on the brink thy pitcher lay, and bring my zone of bark a prey. Here will I bathe, the reel has not to leave the limbs of a fairer spot. Do quickly as I bid, nor waste the precious time away and haste. Obedient to his master's best, quick from the court he brought the west. The hermit took it from his hand, and tightened round his waist the band, then duly dipped and bade him there, and muttered low his secret prayer. To spirits and to gods he made libation of the stream, and strayed, viewing the forest deep and wide, that spread its shade on every side. Close by the bank he saw a pair of curlews sporting fearless there. But suddenly, with evil mind, an outcast fowler stole behind, and with an aim too sure and true, the male bird near the hermit slew. The wretched hen, in wild despair, with fluttering pinions beat the air, and shrieked along a bitter cry, when low on earth she saw him lie. Her loved companion, quivering dead, his dear wings with his lifeblood red. And for her golden crested mate she mourned and was disconsolate. The hermit saw the slaughtered bird, and all his heart with wrath was stirred. The fowler's impious deed distressed his gentle sympathetic breast, and while the curlew's sad cries rang, Within his ears the hermit sang, "No fame be thine for endless time, because base outcast of thy crime, whose cruel hand was fain to slay one of this gentle pair at play." Even as he spoke, his bosom wrought, and labored with the wandering thought. What was the speech his ready tongue he had uttered when his heart was wrong? He pondered long upon the speech, recalled the words, and measured each, and thus exclaimed by saintly guide to Bharadvaja by his side, with equal lines of even feet, with rhythm and time and tone complete. The measured form of words I spoke, in shock of grief, be termed a shlok. A shlok, 1b. 1b. The poet plays upon the similarity in sound of the two words. Shock means grief, and shlok, the heroic measure in which the poem is composed. It need scarcely be said that the derivation is fanciful. The measured form of words I spoke, in shock of grief, be termed a shlok. And Bharadvaja, nothing slow, his faithful love and zeal to show, answered those words of wisdom be, the name, my Lord, as pleases thee. As rules prescribed, the hermit took some lustral water from the brook, but still on this his constant thought kept brooding, as his home he sought, while Bharadvaja paced behind, a pupil sage of lovely mind, and in his hand a pitcher bore, with pure fresh water brimming o'er. Soon as they reached the calm retreat, the holy hermit took his seat, his mind from worldly cares recalled, and mused in deepest thought enthralled. The glorious Brahma, Lord Most High, Creator of the earth and sky. The four-faced God, to meet the sage, came to Valmiki's hermitage. Soon as the mighty God he saw, up sprang the saint in wondering awe. Mute, with clasped hands, his head he bent, and stood before him, reverent. His honored guest he greeted well, who bade him of his welfare tell, gave water for his blessed feet, brought offerings, and prepared a seat. In honored place, the God Most High sate down, and bade the saint sit nigh. There sate before Valmiki's eyes the Father of the earth and skies. But still the hermit's thoughts were bent on one thing only, all intent, on that poor Curlew's mournful fate, lamenting for her slaughtered mate. and still his lips in absent mood the verse that told his grief renewed. Woe to the faller's impious hand that did the deed that folly planned, that could to needless death devote the curlew of the tuneful throat. The Heavenly Father smiled in glee and said, O best of hermits, see, a verse unconscious thou hast made, no longer be the task delayed. Seek not to trace with labor vain the unpremeditated strain. The tuneful lines thy lips rehearsed, spontaneous from thy bosom burst. Then come, O best of seers, relate the life of Rama, good and great. The tale that saintly Narad told, in all its glorious length unfold, of all the deeds his arm has done, upon this earth omit not one. And thus the noble life record of that wise, brave, and virtuous Lord. His every act today displayed, his secret life to none betrayed. How Lakshman, how the giants fought, with high emprise and hidden thought. And all that Janak's child befell, where all could see, where none could tell. The whole of this shall truly be made known, O best of saints, to thee. In all thy poem, through my grace, no word of falsehood shall have place. Begin the story, out rehearse the tale divine in charming verse. As long as in this firm set land the streams shall flow, the mountains stand, so long throughout the world, be sure, the great Ramayana shall endure. While the Ramayan's ancient strain shall glorious in the earth remain, the higher spheres shalt thou arise, and dwell with me above the skies. He spoke and vanished into air, and left Valmiki wandering there. The pupils of the holy man, moved by their love of him, began to chant that verse, and evermore they marveled as they sang it o'er. Behold the four-lined balanced rhyme, repeated over many a time, in words that from the hermit broke. The shock of grief becomes a shlok. This measure now Valmiki chose, wherein his story to compose. In hundreds of such verses sweet, with equal lines and even feet, the saintly poet, lofty-souled, the glorious deeds of Rama told. Wow, that's beautiful. Jai Shri Ramayana ki Jai. Ciao.